So next is Ardha Padma Paschimottanasana, and with this posture, we begin a series of asymmetrical forward folds. So that means we do one side, the right side first, and then we do the left side. And in between sides and in between postures, we take a vinyasa, which we'll break down the vinyasa with the jumping through and the jumping back in a later video. So we end up here after we jump through with the legs straight. And we move into Ardha Padma Paschimottanasana, which is half lotus bound forward fold. So first we're going to look at the half lotus and how we get into it safely in a way that creates space. So first we're going to drop the tailbone and round the spine. I know this kind of feels like you shouldn't be doing this because usually we're trying to sit up tall with a straight spine, but this is just for the transition of moving into it. It's going to give space in our pelvis to move into the external rotation for the lotus. So first we begin by closing the knee joints. That's going to protect the knee joint as we move into the external rotation, and then let the knee fall out to the side to begin moving into external rotation. Coming into a half lotus deepens the external rotation. So that's what we're going to move through now. With that tailbone dropped, the spine rounded, we're going to catch the lower part of the leg and the foot from underneath with the palms facing up. And so that's going to allow us to gently move the lower leg into external rotation by keeping the knee joint closed and drawing the lower leg towards us. So you're pulling the hands with the palms facing up this way. And that's gently encouraging the lower leg to move into external rotation while you're pulling the heel towards the navel. So I'm going to pause here and just explain that a little bit. We want an external rotation. The thigh is rotating out. So then we also want the lower leg to also rotate out. You want the lower leg and the upper leg to rotate in the same direction. Why? Because the knee is a hinge joint. And so at a hinge joint, we bend this way. But to rotate the lower and the upper leg into opposite directions will go against that hinge joint and will just cause a lot of pressure and tension and irritability in the knee joint. And so we want to encourage the external rotation through both the upper and the lower. Okay? So we're here, we draw the lower leg towards us to move the lower leg into external rotation. And that's going to especially help if you have pain or tension in the knee joint. While you do that, you're drawing the heel towards the navel. Tailbone is dropped. And then once you have that knee as close as you can towards the navel, you're going to start to allow the outside of the right foot, or the foot that's in lotus, to come up to the crease of the left hip. So as high up as you can on that left leg, you're going to place the top of the right foot, the outside of the right foot, I'm sorry. And then once it's there, you can let go. And then find a straight spine. So then you rotate the pelvis so that you're sitting on top of the sit bones and you have a neutral pelvis. And then here you just allow the knee to go wherever it goes. So for me, if I'm not pushing the knee down, it's kind of floating, which is okay. When I forward fold, the knee eventually goes to the floor naturally, but don't force it down because then that could force the rotation deeper than the hip is ready to go, which what happens is when you force the rotation deeper than the hip is ready to go, then the body starts to find rotation in other places, and the first place is the knee. And like we said before, the knee doesn't like to rotate in those different directions, just hinge. So let the knee float, and maybe if the knee is extra high, and if you have some pressure with the knee just floating, you can prop it up with something. Okay. The next part of this posture is the bind. So we're binding our right hand, wrapping it around and catching onto the foot. So what we can do to help us get into this bind and create a little bit more space is the left hand catches the right knee. So opposite hand, opposite knee. This is just for a moment to get into it. And we're going to gently move ourselves into a twist. So opening in the direction of the lotus knee. And then we're going to lift this right arm up and over as we internally rotate the shoulder. So spinning the thumb down, bend the elbow, but keep the elbow lifted. That's going to create space in the shoulder for this bind. And then keep gently pressing into the knee as you reach that right hand over towards the right foot. And you're going to catch the foot with the right palm facing down. And you're going to catch the big toe side of the foot. And so that position of the hand is going to allow the right shoulder to stay in internal rotation. So palm facing down, catching the big toe side of the right foot. And then once you have the bind, then you can let the knee go and square the shoulders over towards the left leg. And that might deepen the stretch in the right shoulder. If it's too much, you can just make your arm longer by using a strap. You wrap the strap around the foot and then hold onto the strap. So you're here and you're squaring the shoulders forward. And then the other thing you want to make sure is squared is the hips. Sometimes in that process of bringing the leg into lotus, the hip ends up way out here, and the knee is kind of pointing more out towards the side. So after you place the knee into the foot into the lotus position, just make sure you scoot that right hip forward so that the knee is more at a diagonal. And so that symmetry in the pelvis is going to allow us to square the shoulders over the left leg and fold evenly over the left leg. So then once you have that bind, we inhale. This is the vinyasa for this posture in the primary series. Inhale, go into the lotus, catch the outside of the left foot. And same thing with all of the forward folding pieces that we went through in the other video, that this foot is strong, the foot is awake, the toes are flexed, and you're reaching out through the base of the big toe. And then here, when you catch the outside of the foot, you can encourage that a little bit more. Maybe the thumb, it comes underneath the base of the big toe to gently press the base of the big toe forward. And then that helps to gently bring that left leg into an internal rotation. And then exhale, you fold forward for 5 breaths. Inhale, you look up, exhale fully, and then you release that, vinyasa for the other side. Another subtle internal dynamic that's happening is maybe you want to think about the right knee moving in towards the left leg as the left leg finds that internal rotation. And that creates a really nice action that comes into the pelvis. So you're gently squeezing the knee in, internally rotating the left leg by reaching out through the base of the big toe. And then you feel this gathering of energy at the base of the pelvis. And then with Uddiyana Bandha, you can move that through the spine into the forward fold. It's a little bit more subtle, more of an internal movement, but that's what's really cool about these foundational postures in primary series. Once you have that rough cut of the posture, then you can start to refine and go a little bit deeper and just start to explore, okay, what's happening internally and how can I encourage those energies to keep moving through this form so that it doesn't get stagnant. Cool? And then to come out of the lotus, just come out the same way you came in. So you can come back into that drop tailbone, especially if you have knee problems, really move through these in and out processes slowly and mindfully. So you can drop the tailbone, lift the knee, keep the knee joint closed until you come out of external rotation completely, and then straighten the leg. All right.